Hello guys, this is Ryan here. I'm going to talk to you about Enlisted's new Battle Pass Season 10. Now in this new Battle Pass are 4 unique weapons, one for the USA, one for the Soviet Union, one for Germany, and one for Japan. Let's go over them to see their background, stats, and whether or not they're a good buy. Let's start off with the Farquhar-Hill Model 1918. This is a British semi-auto rifle chambered in the .303 British cartridge, and is available in Normandy, Tunisia, and Pacific for the Allies. With a damage of 16.8, this thing is a bit heftier than other semi-autos like the M1 Garand and the Gewehr 43. With a 19-round drum magazine, it certainly won't run out of ammo as quickly as the G43 or the Garand. Let's go over some history. The Farquhar-Hill was patented in both Britain and the US in 1908 by designers Mowbray G. Farquhar and Arthur H. Hill. By 1911, Farquhar and Hill revised this patented rifle, and in 1915 the British Army conducted tests on it, and eventually introduced it in limited service in the British Army in 1918. It would also be used by the Royal Flying Corps, which would be the predecessor to the RAF. However, by November 1918, World War I had ended, and the Farquhar-Hill wasn't used very much. In World War II, the Farquhar-Hill would be overshadowed by the Lee Enfield class of rifles, such as the SMLE Mark III and the Lee Enfield No. 4 Mark I. As you can see, it has the basic aperture sights and a pretty hefty drum mag. Now right off the bat, the sights of this rifle are a bit similar to that of the M1 Garand. However, the rifle itself and its action is more related to the Turner Automatic SMLE, which both work very similarly. Now, the Farquhar-Hill works very nicely at downing or flat-out one-shotting enemies. For those who are already used to the Lee Enfields or the M1 Garand, this should be a breeze to use. Now, reloading does take 4.3 seconds, a little longer than most of the rifles, but the 19-round drum magazine does indeed cover for that, unless of course you're out in the open in the ground with no cover. Tunisia. Let's move on to the Mondragon 1908. The Mondragon is a Mexican semi-auto rifle available in Moscow, Stalingrad, Tunisia, Normandy, and Berlin Axis. This weapon has a hefty 30-round magazine and has a hit stat of 15.3. It's much more powerful than most semi-autos. With a 30-round magazine, you'll be racking up kills without having to reload for a long time. So some background on this weapon. Originally, the Mondragon 1908 was based off of the earlier Mondragon 1893 straight bolt action rifle. Both rifles were designed by Mexican artillery officer Manuel Mondragon. Both the 1894 and 1908 would see use in the Mexican Civil War and the Pancho Villa expedition of 1917. The German army considered testing the 1908 rifle during World War I. However, it suffered from dust problems, as dust and mud kept getting in the chamber, and, well, in trenches, there's a lot of that. A 30 and 32 round mag was tested for the Mondragon for use in artillery flues, but it was replaced by the artillery Luger. Eventually, the Imperial German Flying Corps would adopt the rifle in 1914, and it would see use with pilots and Zeppelin crews. Now, the Mondragon has very similar sights to the 1903 Springfield, so anybody who's ever played as the US and Enlisted will be very familiar with these sights. Oh look, enemies. Now since this rifle is a high hit stat, it's easy to win enemy with this, and if lucky, one-shot them. The Mondragon can fire pretty fast, so you can use it like a Garand in close range to surprise your enemies. Now with a reload of 4 seconds, it does take a sec to reload, but that's about the only downside. Moving on, for the Russians, they get the SVT-40 with a drum magazine designed by firearms designers Buvnov and Skvortsov, available in Moscow, Stalingrad, and Berlin Allies. This experimental weapon has a 20-round magazine, and only a very few were made. Most are kept in museums. The Red Army rejected this weapon and kept the regular SVT-40. Now, as for the stats, the only thing different between this and the regular SVT-40 is the magazine capacity. And that's about it. The SVT-40 and SVT-40 with drum magazine are practically the same gun, just with different magazines. Let's test this thing out. So it's practically the same as the SVT-40, and sorry about the bad name, it does get dust, made it hard to see. Sharpen the video so you can see without all the dust. Anyways, the only difference is the higher magazine capacity, which does indeed help cut times reloading. The reload speed of 3.3 seconds is just a bit longer than the regular SVT-40. Now, I'm sure you've heard of the Type 14 pistol, or the Nambu pistol series, starting with the Type A Grandpa pistol, which was made in 1904 onward. However, I bet you haven't seen this. A Nambu Type A pistol with a sword attached to the side. Yes, this is a Type A pistol sword. It consists of a Nambu Type A pistol and a long blade attached to the right of the barrel. This weapon has virtually no recoil, and shooting it does 5.3 damage, or about the same as the Type 14. Now, you may be asking, who the fuck designed this? So, for some context, during the Russo-Japanese War of 1905, the Imperial Japanese Cavalry wanted to find a way to combine sidearm and blade in order to not create two holsters for different weapons and save leather, because, Japan doesn't have very much resources. What was made is this, Type A sword pistol. It underwent some trials, however, it would not be integrated in the Japanese army, and only in World War II was it slightly used in Saipan and Okinawa, as this one was captured in the Pacific by U.S. troops from a Japanese officer. Now, this pistol has little recoil, pretty easy to aim and kill enemies with. The sights are comfortable and easy to use, and if it wastes all your shots and run out of ammo, the sword does make a great melee weapon that you can charge towards your enemies with. Now that I have shown you these weapons, here is my honest opinion on each of them. The Farquhar-Hill is a pretty good rifle, and I find that it would be quite useful in Tunisia since the M1 carbine and M1 Garand take some time to unlock. We work in Normandy since it has a higher magazine capacity than the M1 Garand and its counterpart, the G43, and some others in the armies. And in the Pacific, it would do pretty good against the Type A and Type Otsu rifles. I put it number 2 on my list of these 4 weapons. Now, the Type A pistol is just a really funny weapon to use. And while it does have its uses, I just find it funny to charge on the battlefield with a pistol sword. Like, just imagine, as an American soldier, seeing someone charge at you with a pistol sword. I wouldn't even be mad, I'd just be confused. Besides, it doesn't have that much recoil. I'd put it at a solid number 3 on this list, just behind the Farquhar. Now, the SVT Bubnov is an okay weapon. It does have its uses, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad weapon. But compared to the other weapons, it's just not as unique. I literally just did a magazine extension of the regular SVT-40. So I'm gonna put it at number 4 on this list. And last, but certainly not least, Mondragon M1908. It's a really good semi-auto with a crazy large magazine, and I find it would be extremely useful in Moscow and Tunisia against those actions. It's also pretty unique since it's the only Mexican weapon in the entire game. So I'm gonna put it at number 1 on my list. Anyways, that wraps up this video. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully this helps with which weapon you want to buy from this Battle Pass season. Ryan out.